Okay, here we go. The very first fanfic reading was Lost was Found by wolfypuppypiles. And as you probably guessed by the title, Peter gets his wisdom teeth out. And now the Avengers have to deal with Spider-Man all hyped up on pain meds. Okay, here we go. Peter's eyes were stuck like glue. Peter, come on, buddy. Is that Tony? You didn't realize his mouth was moving until some words fell out. Although they were less like words, more like a jumbled up mess of syllables. Tony. Tony laughed, as if from other voices that he was sure he recognized. Hey, buddy, you feeling okay? Peter hummed a little, trying to sigh. He felt very funny. I can't find my eyes. Marta laughed, making Peter smile. They sounded happy, which made him happy. Teddy tried to speak through his laughter, as someone nearby snickered. They're right where you left them, Pete. Try open them for me. Peter laughed, giggly and tired. His eyes felt so heavy. Tony, can you do it for me? I can't do it. It's so hard. The other voice, Peter thought it may have been Bruce, sounded more than a little amused. Peter, just open your eyes. You're fine. What? I got something for you. Peter felt as if he were spinning and lifted a clumsy hand to flop around in front of him. His eyes were open a little, and he could see Tony and Bruce there, smiling at him. Hey, I can see you now. Tony patted his shoulder. Good job. Open them all the way. Peter did as he was told, head lowly a bit on his shoulder. Tony's hand leaned forward, tipping the kid's head back on his pillows before he could break his own neck. Oh, thanks, Mr. Iron Man. You're so nice. Tony smiled as he patted Peter's knee. Bruce came forward with an ice pack. Thanks. Bruce gently placed the ice pack on Peter's cheek, pulling one of the teenager's hands up to hold it. Here, that'll help. Keep Bunny down on the gauze. Peter's eyes widened as he looked at the doctor, voice jumping up in octane. I have gauze? Why do I have gauze? Bruce's voice was soft as he tried to placate the dopey hero. It's okay. You just had your wisdom teeth out. Peter looked around, noticing for the first time that he was in a bed, IV on his arm, and the softest blue blanket he'd ever felt in his life over his lap. Peter's eyes began to water. You took my teeth out? Oh my god, I don't have any teeth. Peter's face twitched in concern, but he still had that glint of amusement in his eyes as he pulled the blanket up higher, tucking the boy in. No, just bad ones, Pete. You still have teeth. Bruce only took a couple. Peter held the ice to his face, sniffling as he tried to understand. I'm okay? Tony patted his hair back. Yeah, you're fine, I promise. You're just a little confused because of all the pain meds. Peter slumped back into his pillows, sighing. Oh, thank God. Bruce nodded to Tony, silently asking him to keep the kid distracted while he took the IV out. Tony got the look and started talking, waiting until Peter met his gaze. Hey, guess who's coming to see you today? Peter lost all other thoughts as he pulled his head back up to look at Tony. Who? Is it you? Tony let out a snicker and tried to be serious. No, I'm already here, Pete. The Avengers are coming to see you. You love them. Peter's eyes were huge as he gasped, completely oblivious to the fact that Bruce was taking the needle out of his arm. Really? I know the Avengers? That's so cool. Tony patted his knee again. Yeah, they're coming to see you. They're coming to see how you're doing. So keep lying down on that gauze and hold that ice pack there. Peter's eyes rolled around a little as he sighed. Okay, I can do that. Skip. Tony had been in a lot of stressful situations and a lot of battles, but nothing had prepared him for taking care of a superpowered teenager high on pain meds. Peter had been sleepy when he first woke, but his reaction to the medication changed as they metabolized, and soon enough he was bouncing off the walls. And given Peter's power, Tony meant that literally. Peter, where did he go? Tony ran his hand through his hair. He was trying to keep his cool, but he had just lost the teenager he was supposed to be taking care of. Sam opened a cupboard in the kitchen, peeking aside before he scowled as Clint laughed. Why would he be hiding in there? Sam slammed it shut, irritated. I don't know. Why are we looking for him in the first place? He turned to Tony, expression mocking. How could you lose Spider-Man? No, seriously, how do you do that? How do you misplace a person? Tony waved him off, looking around the compound as the other Avengers helped him search. Shut up, Wilson. It wasn't my fault that he escaped. You think I can stop him? He's stronger than me and you. You try to get him next time. Sam muttered something as Natasha laughed, and Steve tried to calm everyone down. Fighting isn't going to help Peter. Just keep looking. Tony was getting seriously worried. Peter could be anywhere by now. He'd only been out of the room for 5 minutes before he came back to an empty bed. He called out once more, heart rate climbing for each time he went unanswered. Peter, where are you? Tony felt as if his whole body was wound tight, stress clenching every muscle. If anything happened to that boy, he would never forget himself. He was about to call again when his pocket started buzzing. He pulled out his phone to see who was calling. Crap! Everyone, shut up! His aunt's calling me. Steve shuffled the others out, leaving Tony to answer the call in quiet. Hey, May, what's up? He sounded happy enough. Hi, Tony. How's Peter? Did the surgery go okay? And tell him again how sorry I am that I couldn't make it. Stupid work wouldn't let me off. You know how they are. Tony peered around, trying to spot the little troublemaker as he spoke. Oh, he's fine. A little dumped up, but Bruce got his teeth out, no problem. May began to speak before a shout came from another room. Tony, we found Peter. He's on the ceiling. Tony froze, closing his eyes at the noise. He had hoped May hadn't heard, but, excuse me? Why is my nephew on the ceiling? Tony honestly didn't know what to say, and quickly made his way to where Sam had shot it from. Oh, well, you know how teenagers are. He'll be fine. I'll take care of him. Okay, bye-bye. He hung up, barely having time to feel bad before he walked into the living room to see Peter stuck to the ceiling. He was smiling, his curls hanging down, and waved at Tony as he came in. Hey, Mr. Stars, look how high I am! Glenn snickered at his words. Oh, God. You got that right. Tony ignored him as he felt his heart thump faster, looking up at the kid on the ceiling. It would have been a comical sight if Tony wasn't worried he would fall and die. What are you doing up there? And Peter crawled across the ceiling in his Iron Man pajamas, face slightly swollen in the cheeks, making him look adorably chipmunk-like. I'm on the ceiling! Tony sighed, rubbing his hand over his forehead. Yeah, I can see that. Why are you up there? Peter crawled along forward as Steve and Bucky ran underneath him, arms out and ready, arms out to catch him in case he fell. Because I'm Spider-Man! I'm Spider-Man! Tony held back a sigh and tried to get him to listen instead. Okay, buddy, time to come down now. The teenager laughed, stretching out his leg to gently nudge the chandelier to make it swing. Hey, guys, look! Tony cursed and tried not to have a panic attack as Peter hung from one hand, sticking to the ceiling with just his fingertips. I'm in a bit of a sticky situation, Bucky groaned at the joke as Tony rolled his eyes. Peter! His heart rate lowered a tad when Peter gripped the ceiling properly again. Wait, I have another one. How do you organize a space party? Tony groaned. Peter stopped, but Clint sounded amused. How? Tony gave the archer a look, irritated that he would encourage him, but Clint only shrugged. What? It's funny. Peter snorted through his own joke. You plan it. The Sam snickered as Steve tried to remain serious. Peter, you need to come down now. It's dangerous up there. Peter pouted, eyes glossy through the drugs. But I have more jokes. You can tell them to us down here. Come down, buddy. Peter thought for a moment, weighing his options. Before he rubbed his eyes, he was getting tired. Tony reached a hand towards him. He was desperate to get Peter to safety. You tired on the roof? You want to go to bed? It's nice and comfy there. Peter hummed, thinking. He smiled, voice sweet as he finally agreed. Okay. Then, to Tony's absolute horror, Peter let go of the ceiling and dropped like a stone. His heart leaped into his throat as he called out in panic. Peter! Steve was ready for it, arms stretched out and waiting, and he caught Peter easily. The teenager laughed as he was caught and held Cap's chest. And there was a chorus of relief sighs, and Tony almost melted to the floor with the rush of it. Good God, Peter, you almost killed me. Peter wrapped his arms around Steve's neck, snuggling into him as he blinked tiredly. Sorry. Tony sighed as he walked over, shoulders sagging, and ruffled the kid's hair. It's okay. Just please don't do it again. You're going to make me gray before my time. Peter rubbed a curled hand over his eyes and tucked his face under Steve's neck. His voice was small and childlike. Okay. He was more compliant and going to bed once he had tired himself out. And Tony was more than happy to have him tucked up safe and sound again. Cap carried him back to his room and put him to bed. Peter, already half asleep, Tony sank down into a chair beside him as Steve pulled the teenager's blankets over him. Go to sleep, Pete. Peter barely replied, already curling up under his blanket. Words nothing but a mumble into his pillow. Can you stay with me? Cap smiled, sharing a look with Tony before he sat down on the edge of the bed, placing one of his big hands on Peter's head. Okay, I'll stay. Tony rested his chin in his hand, watching the two as Peter let out a sleepily sigh. The other Avengers watched from the doorway with varying expressions of love on their faces. No matter who you are, no one is immune to how adorable a sleepy Peter Parker is. I love you guys. Oh God, my heart. Tony couldn't hold back his smile as he leaned forward and brushed his spiraling hair back. I love you too, kid. Tony swallowed the last of his coffee, feeling the buzz of caffeine rush through him as he sighed. Peter had been sleeping for a few hours, but it was almost time for his meds again. Tony was still by his side, as promised, as was Steve, but everyone else had gone to their own activities, allowing the youngest team member to sleep. Sorry, need a break. My voice. Tony groaned as he got out of his chair, feeling very old in that moment. Steve was reading the book, but looked up as Tony went to leave. He left a hand to the super soldier before he could say anything. I'm not leaving. I'm just getting him some water for when he takes his meds. It wouldn't seem as though it would be an issue only leaving for a few minutes after being there for so long, but apparently it was for Peter. He was only gone for a few minutes, but Peter's voice was so afraid it brought him sprinting back within seconds. Ah! Tony! He could hear Cap trying to calm him down, but it wasn't working at all that well. When Tony made it to his room, he almost dropped the glass he was holding. Peter was sitting up in bed, blood and spit dripping down his chin as he cried. Oh no. Cap was trying to calm him down, hands fluttering around to try and keep him still. The kid was freaking out, tears rolling down his cheeks, heaving as he cried. His hair was mushed from sleep, and Tony could see the haze of drugs through the glossiness of his eyes. What? Peter let out a sob, clearly delirious, as he pointed to a bloody lump of gauze on his lap. I'm bleeding, and my tongue fell out. Steve tried pressing him back onto his pillows, the back of his bed raised to make it easier, but the kid was so panicked he wouldn't listen. Steve gave an apologetic frown to Tony. He woke up and just spat it out. Sorry, I tried to handle it. Tony shook his head. It's fine. Can you get Bruce, though? The super soldier nodded and ran off, leaving Tony to deal with the grieving teenager. Oh my God, look at it. It's gone. He dissolved its sobs again, and Tony quickly pulled a tissue from the stand and used it to clean up the blood on Peter's chin. He sat on the edge of the bed, his voice calm and soft. No, you didn't lose it, Peter. It's not your tongue, it's God's. You should have left it in. Peter shook his head. How would you know what it is? You're not a doctor. I want Bruce to fix it. Tony laughed a little, using the tissue to pick up the ruined gauze and throw it in the bin before he shuffled closer to the boy and wrapped his arm around his shoulder. Okay, Bruce can fix it. Just calm down. He's coming, Pete. I'm here. You're okay. Peter tipped sideways into Tony's chest and hiccuped adorably. I don't want to lose my tongue. Tony hugged him close with one arm, trying not to laugh. Oh, Spider Baby, you won't. Bruce is going to make it all better. He's the best, right? Peter's lips was nodding. Yeah, he's the best ever. And you're the best ever. And so is Steve. And Tony couldn't help but ruffle his hair as Peter proceeded to list practically everyone he knew. And that kid that always sits behind me on the bus. I don't know his name, but he let me borrow a pencil once, and he's so nice. I just love everyone so much. Tony nodded, rubbing the boy's shoulder, where he held it. I know you do, Peter. Sorry, another break. Peter was breaking himself up again as he cried harder, rubbing a hand over his eyes. I don't want you to go to space again. I saw it on the news when you did it, and you fell and you almost died. I don't want you to go, Tony. Peter pulled his dreaded, clumsily arms up, wrapping around Tony's chest as he curled into them. And Tony sighed, rubbing his back. He didn't want to go into space either. He hated it up there. I'm not leaving, buddy, and I promise I'll do everything I can to never go to space again. We have to stick close to the ground, huh? Peter nodded, face pressed into his shoulder as Bruce and Steve walked back in. The former, already snapping his gloves on, smiling kindly at his patient. What happened here? Cap told me he had a bit of a mishap with your gauze. Peter peeked out from his hug with Tony, nodding as his breath jumped around from the force of his tears. Bruce pulled a rolling stool forward and sat down on it, sliding over to the bed. Can I take a look? Peter nodded again, wiping his cheek on the back of his hand and sat up with the help of Tony's palm on his back. Bruce was gentle as always, peering into Peter's mouth with a penlight. He hummed an interest before taking the light away and instead wheeling over to the bench to grab supplies. I'll replace the gauze, but this time I really need you to just lie still and keep biting down on it, okay? We need it to clot, and once it does, you don't want to disturb it and slow the healing. Peter obediently opened his mouth as Bruce replaced it, squeezing his eyes shut at the pressure in his sensitive mouth. A tear rolled down his cheek as he closed his eyes, and Tony gently brushed it away with a curled finger. Bruce lightly tapped under Peter's chin, encouraging him to bite down on the gauze before smiling encouragingly. I know you don't feel all that good right now, but you'll start to feel better soon. How about for now, while you keep biting on that, and watch a movie together? Peter nodded, eyes huge and puppy-like, as he gathered up his blanket in his arms and swung his legs over the bed, trying to get up. He didn't get very far, legs wobbly and head spinning, with all three men in the room reaching for him. And Steve got there first. No, don't move around too much, Pete. Where are you going? Peter pointed out the door, which Steve could only assume meant he wanted to have the movie in the living room with everyone. It was very hard to deny a kid when he was looking at him with such big eyes. Steve gave in with very little resistance. Okay, but no walking around just yet. Peter didn't mind at all, and simply lifted his arms, reaching for the first adventure. He obliged, scooping the kid up into his arms, and smiling, he tucked his head into his shoulder once more. Tony followed behind as they made their way to the living room, calling out to his AI as he went. Friday, let everyone know we'll be waiting for them with a movie, and dim the lights to Spider-Man settings, please. Peter made a small, pleased grunt as the lights lowered, no longer a stabbing pain in his eyes, but a soft, warm glow. The other Avengers came as requested, gathering in the living room and taking up seats on the many couches there. Steve was settling Peter on the couch, and although he had no intention of leaving the teenager, tugged on his arms anyway, making sure he sat down with him. His arm came around the kid's shoulder as Peter hugged him under his blankets, still obediently biting down on the gauze in his mouth. Tony went to sit on Peter's other side as Friday got a movie started. Scoot over, will you? Peter's eyes warmed with a small smile, feeling better with all his heroes in one room. He snuggled down into the couch as Tony settled down beside him. The movie was one of Peter's favorites, of course, one of the Star Wars ones, but unfortunately he didn't get to enjoy it as much as he usually did. As the film went on, the pain in his mouth got worse. First, it was something dull and uncomfortable, largely numbed by the pain meds, but it was getting worse. Peter tried to concentrate on the movie. He tried to focus on the characters that he loved so much, but it was getting hard to ignore the pain. And Tony could feel the kid begin to stiffen, muscles clenching as he tried to control the agony radiating through his head. But it was too much, and he was left trying to hide his whimpers. Of course, it didn't escape Tony and Steve's notice, or even Bucky, who was sitting next to the first Avenger on the couch. Tony sat forward, concerned, and tried to see the kid's face in the dark. Peter, are you okay? His control slipped as he shook his head, and he let out a sob. It hurt so bad, he couldn't concentrate on anything else. Tony quickly called out, and trying not to panic. Friday, lights on! Tony didn't know what he was expecting, but it had been Peter clenching his blanket so hard it was starting to tear, tears rolling down his cheeks. His whole body was locked up tense and shaking, and that had been before he opened his mouth. Peter had tried so hard to keep under control, but the pain was too much. It was agony. He let out a sob, opening his mouth, and blood poured out. Steve jumped back with a soft curse as Tony stepped from the couch. Poor Peter just closed his eyes and cried as blood dribbled down his chin and onto his blanket. Bucky recovered first, and grabbing the teenager and holding him with a surprisingly soft grip as he ran back to the med bay. His voice was calm, if not a little rushed. "It's okay. You'll be okay. Hold on to me, Peter." The teenager could do nothing but cry, and he only got louder as the pain grew. Tony didn't know what was wrong or what to do, and simply followed as the others did. Bruce got his gloves on, pointing to the bed as he ran around the room grabbing things. "Put him there and hold his. You're going to be okay." "Oh, put him there and hold his hand. You're going to be okay. I know it hurts, but I'm going to fix it." Bucky placed the kid down as Peter continued to wail and offered him his metal hand to hold. He was lucky T'Challa and Shuri had given him a better arm because Peter's grip was so strong he surely would have crushed anything else. In fact, his other hand went to get the rail on the side of the bed and crushed it within seconds. And Tony flinched as the metal crumpled under the teenager's hand. Bruce turned to look, pausing for a second to watch. Peter usually had great control over his strength because he knew how dangerous it was, but he was in too much pain to even notice what he'd done. Bucky winced slightly at the grip on his metal hand, but shook his head at Steve's concerned glance. "It's okay. I'm okay. But you gotta get this kid some pain meds right now." Bruce came back to the bed with a metal kidney dish, handing it to Bucky to hold it under Peter's chin to catch the blood still pouring from his lips. "I'll do what I can, but I have to make sure that this is what I think it is first." Peter was still sitting up in the bed, hands clenching the bed rail and Bucky's hand, but opened his mouth as much as he could. Bruce asked him to. Sorry, talking way too much. I'm talking way too much. I need to breathe it for a second. Okay. Bruce peered inside for just a moment before cursing and lowering the head of the bed a bit. "It's a dry socket. The blood clot moved. It sometimes happens, but it's excruciatingly painful. Probably more so for Peter since he feels everything so intensely. I need to clean and dress it." Tony wanted to help, and he would have done anything to make the pain and fear lessen, but there just wasn't much he could do. Bruce grabbed the things he needed and got to work, and Tony watched as he worked, his heart in his throat. Peter whimpered, trying to stay still, but his chest heaved and his hands shook. He was terrified and in pain, and Tony couldn't just do nothing. He stood at the end of the bed and gently placed his hand on Peter's ankle, squeezing it gently. Peter opened his eyes just a crack to see Tony standing there, and although tears continued to roll down his face, his grip on Bucky's hand lessened just a little. The poor kid was exhausted when Bruce finished. He was trembling as he tried to calm down, eyes dropping in exhaustion, but it still hurt so bad. He had another IV, strong pain medication flowing through his veins to try and help keep the pain at bay. Bruce went to wash his hands as Natasha gently swiped a wet cloth across Peter's chin, cleaning the blood and tears from his face. He blinked tiredly up at her, and as she smiled kindly, "You'll feel better soon." Okay, I actually searched up this word and it means baby spider in Russian. Oh my god, so cute. Cute. "You'll feel better soon, baby spider. Try to sleep." Peter was calmer and he slowly uncurls his fingers from the rude metal bars, his other hand still firmly clenching Bucky's hand. He follows her advice, closing his eyes as she wipes the last clean side of cloth over his cheeks and temples, readying himself of the tear tracks left there. Tony was exhausted, just watching all the excitement. He sighed. Today's been one hell of a roller coaster ride. Natasha nodded, tossing the ruined cloth into a wastebasket. You should follow Peter's lead and get some rest. And Tony immediately shook his head, taking a seat on the couch at the end of the room, not too far from Peter. He was exhausted, but he couldn't leave him. I'll be fine. Bucky pulled the plate blanket from Peter's lap as Steve came in with another clean one. He tucked the soft fabric around the sleeping hero as Bucky offered Tony a reprise. You've been with him all day. Let us take him for a while. Tony rubbed a hand over his face, considering he didn't like to leave Peter for too long when he was hurt. But Peter was already asleep, and likely would be for a while. Natasha sat on a stool next to the bed that Priest had previously been using, and Tony saw that Peter had taken her hand in his before he had fallen asleep, and it was still there. He was okay. Tony sighed, standing. He felt completely run out and could definitely use a break. The cat caught sight of him and placed a hand on the small of his back, leading him from the room. Come on, Tony, you need sleep. He wasn't about to argue, but he did take another look down the hall to Peter's room, making sure one last time that the kid was okay without him. He got out of breath, utterly done for the day. I don't know how he does it. Steve led Tony to his room, not bothering to turn the lights on as they walked through. Does what? Raise a superhero? She didn't know he was for a while. Tony shook his head as he slumped down onto a soft bed, never happier to be in it. No, be a parent. Secure than going into battle. Caring about someone that much? Tony nodded, pulling a blanket and sheet packed for his teammate. Yeah, especially when that person goes into battle with you. Tony scowled as he lay down. Don't remind me. Steve smiled, laughing softly in the dark. Sorry, it's worth it though, isn't it? It wasn't a question, but even so, Tony agreed. He always is. All right, there you go. That was Wisdom Off, Wisdom Out. My very first fanfic reading. I hope you guys enjoyed it.